All right, folks. This is going to be a very different episode today. This is going to be a much slower episode as I get my thoughts and opinions out today. Uh, if you watched the Monday Night Football game last night, or the very little bit of the game, you already know what happened, and there's not much to talk about when it comes to that game in particular. Um, it is really much all about the safety and hopefully the recovery of Damar Hamlin. Uh, I don't want to make this episode about him either because I don't know anything about what's going on. I mean, we all know the story of what happened, and I don't want to make it about him, but I want to make it a bigger picture about what's really mattering right now, what's really real, what's really going on with us as sports fans, us as society, and what do we need to do, in my opinion, to move forward. So I will talk about that in this episode. I may not take too long on here, but i'm not planning on um I'm not planning on stopping till I feel like I get my message out. So it may be 5 minutes, it may be 15, it may be 50 minutes. This may be a long episode. Just don't know. So hopefully you guys bear with me and understand what's going on and where I'm going. If this is your first time here, welcome. I am on all the podcast avenues that that you can find me on. Just type First and Frame Rates in. I should pop right on up. I'm on YouTube and Rumble as well. If you want to listen to this at your own leisure, uh, last night was rough, and I didn't even witness what happened because of the fact that I was giving my son a bath because it was about that time for him to go to bed, and you got to get back into the swing of things of the new year, and everybody's going back to work, and everybody's going back to school or whatever. And so I was getting him prepared for bed. I come back into the living room where I was watching, the football game, and I hear Susie Colbert says, they administer CPR on a player. So the first thing I didn't think nothing about, was this football related? I don't know. Because you got to think about it. You don't think CPR is being administered to somebody who made a play in football. This is something I've never heard about, and nothing that I've seen ever happen before or knew about. So for me, it was more, okay, what is this? Did something tragic happen? Did somebody, I basically expect the worst. So I was like, immediately, why would anybody want to play after a CPR is being administered to a player on the field? Because I don't even know what happened. I was like, why would you want to continue to play? That was my first the thought. Because that just goes a little bit further than a head injury, a leg injury, even when a spinal injury happens and they can't move their limbs, or there's a possibility they can't move their limbs. Those type of things we've come accustomed to, and those things is, I hate to say it like that, but we're accustomed to it as little, somewhat of the norm in some cases. But when you hear about CPR on the field, and then I look at, I still haven't seen the play yet, so I don't know what happened. Then you see players literally they're distraught, they're crying. You talking about grown men, professional football players, guys who have shown strength and agility, and some of these guys are the most athletically gifted and strongest men in the world, crying. I mean, literally crying. I thought something real tragic happened. I mean, don't get me wrong, what happened to him is tragic, but I'm thinking like non-football related tragedy. And I'm sitting here just trying to process this, and the only thing I could think of is like, everything needs to be shut down. Nothing is more important than what's going on right now. Shut everything down. No game need to be played. Not another play needs to be put together. Everybody needs to go to the locker room. Um, I don't even know what to say about the fans, because the fans are in the stands. They're like in shock, but everything needs to be shut down. And unfortunately, it was. Everything was shut down, and I don't know when that game will be played. It'll be played at a later date. I don't know what they're going to do, because at the end of the day, football is going to continue. I mean, That's just how it is. I hate to say it like that, but it's going to continue at some point. But everything stops at that point, because at that moment when I knew that everything was going to shut down, and I knew life was going to go on, because it always does. Things are going to change, but life is going to still go on. So now I want to have this discussion about what was happening throughout the night, what was happening throughout, this morning, what is happening to right now as I speak, to where there's a lot of emotions flying around, and there's a lot of emotions that are going on with people, thoughts and opinions about what happened, and they're worrying about Damar Hamlin. They want to know that he's okay, and want to know any news, and a lot of people, their psyche is not well at this point. Now I understand, because it's a lot going on. This has never happened. But what I did, and I encourage anybody to do this. I mean, I learned this, prior to like 2020, especially in 2020 when a lot of things were going on. Sit back, and I'm not saying this in a mean spirited way. I'm not saying this in a bad tone or whatever, but this needs to be said. If you want to learn about what's going on and get the best information possible, sit back and shut up. Don't post anything. Don't talk about anything. Just sit back and shut up and watch what's going on, because you're going to get a lot of information that way. A lot from anybody, from anybody and everybody, from what side of the spectrum that you look at it. You're going to get the best opinions on everybody situation or their thoughts about it if you just shut up. And I'm not saying that maliciously, but I'm saying that as honest as possible. Because what I did, I sat back, I posted a few things about shutting down the game. I sat back and just watched people, not only just on social media, but I watched on television. I actually watched in other places on the internet, that, just watching stuff. Just try to get the best information possible. This young man is in critical condition as I speak right now at the hospital in Cincinnati. People want to point fingers and do this, that, and the third. I'm not telling people what to do, because that's not my place, but I will tell you what is best for you. And just sit back and get knowledge. Sit back and learn. Sit back and watch what's going on and obtain that knowledge, so you will know what is actually going on. Because the more the people speak out, the more people, the more that people actually, try to formulate an opinion, they're losing that energy, because they're losing the energy to actually learn something, because they're actually putting out information. And I'm not saying the information is false, right, wrong, or indifferent. But when you look at this situation to where there's times where we don't know what to do and where to go, it's a good situation. It's a good time to just sit back and say, okay, maybe I need to sit back and learn about what's going on, because a guy's life is in jeopardy. That's playing a sport that we all love, playing a sport that we all want to enjoy every day of the week. A lot of us really don't care. I'm not saying everybody, but a lot of us really don't care about these players. And I'm just gonna be honest. A lot of us don't. They're worried about fantasy football. They're worried about winning money on bets, and and I know that I have an affiliate here with Bet US. I talk about them, and it's not even their fault. It's nobody's fault, but it's nobody's fault to push that. But you got to understand that we need to have some type of humanity to understand that these guys are actually human, and they're very, I ain't gonna say they have emotions just like us. When I saw those guys out there crying and some guys on one knee. Some people were just distraught. That's all I can think about is the humanity of it. These guys are humans under those pads and jerseys. It's another reason why I just say stop for a second. Because all I saw on social media last night was people pointing the finger at this person, pointing the finger at that person. And I'm not telling people, how they should go about it. But I want to say this, like I said again, if you want to be wise and learn something, just stop. Because I learned a lot of information about what's going on. A lot of people speculating things about medical stuff that they really don't know about. A lot of people speculating about what this man put in his body to cause this, or was it just a football situation, or whatever the case may be. Nobody knows. Shut up. Let people who actually are in tune with situations like this, or people who are experts at it, and I'm talking about like real experts, not the ones that's just trying to tell you something, but experts that actually figure out what happens and give you information based on what happened, not people telling you what's going on, and then you come to find out later it was not even it was not even relevant, or it's not even right or lining up with what's going on. It's really disheartening to see a lot of people want to be upset, and this is the culture that we've created in some senses. In some senses, we created a culture that it's okay to be upset all the time. Let's get mad at Troy Vincent. Let's get mad at Roger Goodell. Why ESPN didn't do this? Why they're constantly talking about that? Why they're up in the mornings continuously talking about it when there's no news? Listen, this is something that never happened. I just watched Herm Edwards, one of the guys that are in the world of football that I have high respect for, sat back and said, I don't know what to do. I ain't never seen anything like this. He's been around football for 55 years and don't know. So if he don't know, what am I to sit here and say anything about it? So society itself has like this whole notion of putting it out there to say they feel some type of way about this. And it's never going to stop. It is what it is. I get it. I'm not going to sit here and say, don't do that. But I'm telling people what they need to do when it comes to getting knowledge. You don't get knowledge and getting information about things by just constantly putting stuff out there. This is why you have one of these and two of these. You listen twice as much as you talk. You listen twice as much as you put out stuff. And when I went to bed last night, it kind of made me upset because now we're looking at what happens to football now. We talked about life. We talked about humanity. Now we're going to talk about football. I don't know. This is something different. This is something that is a game changer, no pun intended. This is something that changes a lot of things. We always talked about don't hit no one in the knees because you turn ACL, you can break someone's leg. You can really, diminish some person's mobility that way. They ain't saying don't go for the head and neck area because the head and neck area is where, all the main functions of neurology and also stability with the spinal cord, all that stuff is, very vital. So can't hit up there either. Now we're looking at a situation now, a guy got hit in the chest from what I've heard and what I've seen now. And his heart basically went into shock. What do you do? What happens with football? I said this earlier. I believe football will go on. I believe football will continue. I believe that football will try their best to get safer in this situation. I think, especially like the whole thing with Tua and the head thing, that they kind of resolved that already prior to Tua being injured. I think they just upped the game on protocol. But this is something totally different. I don't know what they do. I mean, could you put more padding in the chest area? Maybe. Do you put better padding in the chest area? Yeah, maybe. I'm just trying to figure out how do they, what do they do? And, I can care less about the Bills and Bengals game, how they're going to replay that or whatever. I'm just worried about safety because at some point the game is going to rev up again. You got to understand, in 2 days, a Thursday night game is supposed to happen. I think. Yeah, in 2 days. What do you do about that? What do you do about actually getting players to feel comfortable playing again? Because what do you do about that? Because now it goes back to the humanity part, the human aspect of this game is really to the forefront now. It really is. So you got to understand: are these guys going to be comfortable playing? Are these guys going to be comfortable in actually uh putting these pads on and taking that risk? I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, this is probably one of the most, if not the most violent sport in America. I mean, you can make the case for boxing and MMA and but there's so many factors when it comes to comparing the two. Even with all this padding and the protection that these players have, you still have situations like this. You have situations like Tua. You have people who that have difficulty, or have an injury where they may not be able to walk again, or some that are struggling with walking, spinal cord injuries, torn knees, you have all these other injuries, and not even the ones that you can't. They have injuries you can't even see, where they say this thing like CTE or just brain damage or internal damages to the body that lingers on for the rest of their lives. It puts a lot of that stuff in perspective to be like, all right, what really happens now? You know, it is. I don't know. I believe, honestly, like I said, I believe football is going to continue, but how? Does anything change? Should anything change? Is there something there that can be resolved? Is there something there that can be uh, a solution? Because I'm gonna tell you right now, talking about what ESPN, the NFL, Skip Bayless, and what they said or didn't say, that none of that stuff matters. This is just like I said, just shut up. None of that stuff matters. What really matters is what are we going to do to provide comfort and safety to these players? This is not a situation where somebody was just injured. They get carted off the field and hopefully they're going to be okay, the next few days or whatever the case may be. Or they're going to be okay later on that evening. From what I've taken, I mean, say for what I know, look, I can imagine what those players saw when Mr. Hamlin went to the ground. Because if he was in cardiac arrest, the visuals of a man going through that, the movements that he was probably doing at the time was very scary. I watched my grandfather, God rest his soul, he's not with us anymore. I watched him suffer a heart attack. He survived it, but I watched him suffer a heart attack, and it was one of the scariest things that I've seen. To watch him go through that. Thank God he was with us for another, 8, 9, maybe probably even longer than that. He's probably with us for another, 7 or 8, 9 years. Thank God for that. I think he was around that much longer. I can't remember. It's all a blur. But I watched him go through that, so I can imagine what this young man was going through and what these people saw, what these players saw. But when I heard the word CPR, I was like, nah, I don't know what happened. I don't care what happened. But when a player needs CPR on the field, all bets are off. There's nothing to do at that point. I don't care if the players want to play. You know what I'm saying? My personal opinion is like, no, this game is over. I don't know everybody. I mean, I feel at the end of the day that uh, I feel like at the end of the day things are going to continue to move like they always do. I think things are going to be tweaked. That things are going to be better, like we always try. I always try to say the cup is half full. I always have that optimism like the cup is half full because I want things to be better. I want things to, necessarily, I want things to necessarily be better. I want us to do better. I want us to live better. And I think with these type of situations that happen, a majority of us, if not all of us, learn how to move differently and be better and do better. Because everything that we encounter is somewhat of a teachable moment. And hopefully that we are learning uh, with this teachable moment. Because last thing the only thing I want right now when it comes to the situation is Damar Hamlin to be okay. I want him to be able to uh, regain consciousness if he hasn't already, and be able to live a life that he is able to. It's really tough. It's really tough at the end of the day when you really think about this. I to uh try not to trivialize or try to put too much into this. I try to keep things as simple as possible because right now we don't have much to lean on. We don't have much to talk about. We don't have much to really uh expound upon. All we know is he's in the hospital right now and he is in critical condition. Hopefully the recovery stage starts immediately. You know, it goes without saying that it goes without saying that I'm praying for the kid and his family, and I just hope everything gets better. I just don't know what else to say after this. I think I said everything. I'm pretty much at a loss of words to be honest. I don't know what to say or do. It's tough. It's tough and it sucks. It really does. But I think we will get over this. I think we'll get through it. I think that we will move on. I think we'll just move much more better. I think much better. I think we'll be treading more lightly. I think we will try to find any other safety protocols. And last but not least, I don't think this will ever happen. And I know I get fired up a little bit when I think about this. I just hope people in general will understand the magnitude of words. And I think a lot of us or some of us would learn to actually calm down and listen more than they talk. Because that right there really upset me more than anything when I saw a lot of people just saying stuff for nothing. And then I get it. I think people are overly emotional nowadays, but that's another story for another day. People are emotion, people are emotional, and sometimes it really irks. I know it doesn't irk just me. I know it's other people too. People just need to shut up sometimes. Just shut up. Prayers go out to Damar Hamlin and his family. Hopefully that he will have a speedy recovery. I'm praying for him. I'm pulling for him. I'm pulling for his family. Also, I would be remiss if I wouldn't talk about T. Higgins. I can imagine what he's going through with his his psyche. He the one that was involved in the football play. That is just, oh my God, it's just horrible. I don't know. I mean, how do you move on with that? I don't think that he was able to sleep. I'm not gonna give any plugs to this show or whatever. It's not the time right now. And you know where to find me if you want to find me. I say it all the time on this channel, and I always say it all the time on the podcast. So you guys know where to find me at. I'm going to get out of here. I think I said enough. I got more work to do up here. We are in the process of moving within the next month or two, so it's a lot to move. You can see behind me, and I'm pretty sure that's probably going to keep my mind focused while all this is going on because I'm a lover of football, and I love the kids at Georgia Southern. I love the kids, or the grown professional men for the Atlanta Falcons, and I cover them because I love this sport. I love these guys willing to put their bodies on the line to give us, a form of entertainment, and I love the fact they love what they do. But sometimes it's bigger than that, and I appreciate you guys for doing what you do, and I pray that you guys are safe in everything that you guys do on the football field because we don't need no more stuff like this. Y'all have a great Monday. I'll be back on the next episode. Y'all take it easy and y'all be blessed. Peace.